Cool. So anyways, what simply has happened, what I noticed, how about this? What I noticed, what got me thinking about this, is I did study the Mexican peso for a while. So this was something I taught for several years, for free, of course. But I had noticed the peso tended to get strong at certain times. I thought, well, that's interesting. So I looked at back data, and not always, but quite often, at the same time, over and over and over again, the peso tended to get strong for a while. And I wondered what it was. And it was always sort of like the last couple of days of the month or the first couple of days of the month, just kind of in that area, sort of last week, first week kind of time period, for at least a few days, but sometimes the whole month, but it depends on the fundamental trend behind it. But at least, even if the fundamental trend was weak going into that period, at least for a couple of days, there would be a bounce. The Mexican peso would get strong for a few days, and then it would do whatever it was going to do anyways. So I wondered and I wondered and I pondered, and then it came right. So this is Mexico, money going to Mexico from foreign countries from Mexicans. Okay, and then it turned out I'm like, yeah, Timothy has it there. It's the monthly paychecks. They're getting paid at the end of the month and sending money home. I'm like, oh, snap. That just makes sense. It's a trade based on human nature and human cycles. It's a human pattern, not necessarily a technical pattern, but it's certainly a fundamental pattern. People got paid at the beginning of the month, or let's say the last day of the month or the first day of the month. And then what they did was send money home. And you can see right now it's $2 billion a month, and it was way down. This is 1.6, and it got pretty low. But there was a time when it was even much higher. I wish we can get the 5-year, but they don't even really have it. But 5 years ago, I was trading this, and it was much higher. And so what I had found is in that period, a lot of that money. So right now, 2 billion. Right, 2,000 thousands, right? 2 billion per month tended to happen at the end of the month, beginning of the month kind of period, when paychecks came out. And then I realized it was the ultimate currency trade, guys. I knew based on this pattern, so let me go back to a pattern. Let me show it to you. Okay, look at the pattern. It's about 2 billion, a little bit more, but since this is April, May, June, July, August, September, October, it's more than 2 billion most of this period, right? More than 2 billion. It's a 2 billion. Oh, 2,000 thousands. Yeah, you're right. Not 2,000. 2,000. Yeah. Anyways, yes. 2 billion. It's 2 billion, right? That it's the ultimate currency trade where we know within a period of maybe 72 hours that somebody's going to buy $2 billion worth of Mexican peso. How would you like to know that in advance? So you remember, the currency traders in London that got in trouble because one side of the bank would call the trading desk for the foreign exchange trade and say, hey, by the way, we're putting in a $2 billion order for this client. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Maybe you want to get in 5 minutes before we place this trade, right? Remember how banks were front running their own clients and they got in trouble for this because it was like free money? Well, how would you like to know within a 72-hour period when a $2 billion trade is going to be placed? Well, now you do. You know, and it's not quite, that's why I'm saying it's kind of the end of the month, kind of the beginning of the month. It depends when people do it. But a vast majority, from my observation of the Mexican peso, a vast majority of this 2 billion came in that kind of 1 week period. And the Mexican peso, not always, but often enough, tended to get strong, at least for that kind of that short period of time. And then just once that buying stopped, because remember, it's Mexicans actually going into the foreign exchange market and buying 2 billion US dollars worth of Mexican peso. It's not even 2 billion Mexican pesos. It's probably like 14 billion Mexican pesos. But they're in the market buying. What happens when they stop buying, when it's like the second week, when no one gets paid anymore? What happens to that demand? It dropped. What happens to the price? It'll do whatever it was doing before, right? But at least now we know where that demand comes in, and we know it tends to cycle based on human nature that we can understand. And if you understand it, then it's not like a weird trick. It's just a cycle, a logical cycle. All right. So anyway, so I started, going to like daily charts, for example, and looking at the Mexican peso at the beginning of the month, and started to pay attention. So like I said, it's not always, you're not going to like set it and forget it kind of thing. But like, oops, I guess we can't quite get the beginning of the month. And there's a lot going on there now that is much more fundamentally driven than the short-term demand. But we've been stable, as you can see, most of the year. $2 billion tends to come into the market that time. All right, so this is sort of the last week here. All right, so this is the last week of last month. And you see how the Mexican peso got strong until about the end of that week, right? This is a 3-day period. And if you started even a little farther back, right? Right, so again, it's not like I wouldn't call it like free money, but it's something you should pay attention to, right? I wonder how October started. Okay, so let's go to the beginning of October to about the 5th of, here's the 6th, to the 7th, right? So there's 1 week. And remember, when this comes down, the Mexican peso is strong, right? Wonder what September was like. See, not always, but, not always, but it's something to pay attention to. So what happened this month? Let's say here's about a week's worth of trading. Nothing. All right, didn't work out that time. So on and so forth, right? July, August, here's the last week of July. Okay, not amazing, but something. And you start to look for these patterns, and they were pretty good at one point, right? So here's June, guys. Okay, June 3rd. Could have been like a Monday, the first Monday of the month kind of thing. Here's the first week of the month. So I don't know. Okay. So it is interesting. The point, though, that I like, and again, this isn't something I just made up. It's not like I'm trying to sell you like, oh, some new trading strategy I came up with. Give me $100 and I'll teach you. The interesting part of this is it's a logical process that I understand based on just really, truly human nature, where you're sending money back to your wife and kids, or grandma and grandpa, mom and dad. It totally makes sense, and I understand it. And the other part that I like about it is that you can prepare for it and say, well, we're kind of getting close. It's the 30th of November, right? It's the 30th of November. Maybe I look for Mexican peso strength over the next few days. So what would I look for? Can you see on this USD Mexican peso 4-hour chart that I've already identified previous support that's been broken? WWD. What would Wayne do? What's the process, guys? Okay. Maybe the pattern that you're looking for looks like this. Is it any different than what you would normally do on any other pair or in any different situation? That looks totally normal. Is the setup reasonable wise? Yeah. Roll reversals, 50% retracements. But doesn't it give you one ounce more of confidence to think that $2 billion is going to come in the market and buy Mexican peso? Do you think that would help your USD Mexican peso short? To think that you're front running a $2 billion trade? Oh, snap. So if you were hanging with me 6 years ago, isn't that neat? So it's not anything new at all, but I think it's pretty cool. And I just noticed it just from asking questions, thinking about it, and doing some research. And that's why, my advice to you is to fall in love with Forex, so that you just get fascinated by what does that? Yeah. So anyways, it's been real. Tomorrow, lots of technical analysis to do. I hope you'll be here. I will upload the video to YouTube and to Forex.Today. Will you share it on social media? I don't think I asked you to do that, right? I don't think I've ever asked you to do that. Will you share it on Facebook? Be cool. Maybe it's important. I don't know. It'd be interesting if it was. If suddenly, YouTube found that exciting somehow. Yeah, it'd be nice if you did that. So, anyways, there's my blood, sweat, and tears for years. One little piece of that, in a bloody mess. How to trade the Mexican peso. And I hope you enjoyed my Mexican peso trading strategy for free. And I do that because you're here every day and you're a loyal member of our community, and I thank you for that. Maybe one day you'll fund a live trading account at TradersWay, and the world will be a beautiful place. So peace on earth, may the pips be with you, may your profits be above average, and I'll see you again tomorrow. We're going to have a great week, guys. Cheers.